The alien ship moved silently through space, its dark metal hull reflecting the distant stars. Inside the research lab, Zixathara stared at the glowing screen in front of her. Her four eyes moved quickly as she read the data about Earth. The planet looked small and blue from space, but the information told a different story. Apex predators identified, she said to herself, her voice making clicking sounds that other aliens could understand. The list on her screen showed pictures of Earth's most dangerous animals. Lions with sharp teeth and claws, sharks swimming through dark water, bears standing tall on their back legs, and humans, the planet's thinking species, holding weapons and tools. Zixathara felt confident. Her people, the hegemony, had conquered 47 worlds. Each time they studied the local predators first. Each time they found ways to defeat them. Earth looked easy compared to the acid-spitting creatures of Venom Prime or the giant hunters of the Crystal Caves on Xerion 4. She touched a button and sent her report to the invasion fleet. Earth presents minimal biological threat, her message said. Local predators show standard mammalian patterns. Recommend standard invasion protocol. Far ahead of the research ship, 200 vessels filled with hegemony soldiers moved toward the blue planet. Their commander, Veltash, read Zixathara's report and smiled. His sharp teeth showed pleasure. Another easy conquest. Another world for the hegemony to claim and use. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Martinez did not know about the alien ships coming toward her world. She knelt in the tall grass of a Texas field, watching thousands of tiny red ants move in perfect lines. The hot sun made sweat run down her face, but she did not move. The ants were too interesting to disturb. "Look at this pattern," she said to Jake Thompson, who stood behind her with a camera. "They are building a bridge across this small stream. Each ant knows exactly where to go." Jake took pictures as the ants linked their bodies together. First, 10 ants, then 100, then 1,000. They made a living bridge that other ants could walk across. No ant gave orders. No ant was in charge, but they all worked together like parts of one big thinking machine. "How do they know what to do?" Jake asked. Lisa smiled. She had studied fire ants for 8 years, but they still amazed her. "Chemical signals," she said. "Each ant leaves invisible trails that other ants can smell. The trails tell them where to go, what to do, who is friend or enemy." She pointed to a large mound of dirt nearby. "That nest has about 20 million ants, but this whole area has many connected nests. Maybe 400 million ants all working together. The biggest family on Earth." Jake looked around the field. He could see dozens of anthills. 400 million in just this area? "Fire ants do not think like humans," Lisa explained. "They do not care about their own lives. They only care about protecting their family and their territory. If something threatens them, they attack with everything they have. No fear, no mercy, no giving up." The ants fascinated Lisa because they solved problems better than most humans. When floods came, they made floating rafts with their bodies. When enemies attacked, they swarmed in perfect coordination. When food was scarce, they changed their behavior to survive. They had lived on Earth for millions of years by being tough, smart, and working together. In space, the hegemony fleet entered Earth's solar system. Their scanners looked at every planet and moon, measuring gravity, atmosphere, and life signs. Earth glowed bright with billions of life forms, but the scanners focused on the big ones: humans in their cities, whales in their oceans, elephants walking across grasslands. The small things did not matter to hegemony scanners. Insects were too tiny to be dangerous. The invasion plan showed where to land troops and which human weapons to worry about. Nobody thought about ants. Captain Ryan Clark sat in the Space Defense Force Command Center in Colorado. Red lights flashed on his screens as unknown objects appeared at the edge of the solar system. At first he thought they might be asteroids or space debris, but the objects moved too smoothly, too purposefully. "Sir," said his communication officer, "we are receiving a transmission on multiple frequencies." The main screen filled with the image of an alien face. Veltash looked almost human, but his skin was gray and his eyes were completely black. When he spoke, a computer translated his words into English. "People of Earth," Veltash said. "I am Commander Veltash of the Hegemony Fleet. Your world has been selected for colonization. You will surrender all governments and military forces immediately. Resistance will result in the elimination of your species. Ryan felt his heart beat faster. Humanity had always wondered if aliens existed. Now they knew, and the aliens wanted to take their planet. He activated emergency protocols and sent alerts to every military base on Earth. "This is Captain Clark of Earth Defense," he replied, knowing the aliens would hear him. "Earth is not for sale. We will defend our home." Veltash laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm hegemony forces. We have studied your military capabilities. We have cataloged your predators. You have nothing that can stop us." Back in Texas, Lisa was packing her equipment when something strange appeared in the sky. A small metallic object, no bigger than a basketball, descended from the clouds. It moved silently and landed near the ant colony she had been studying. "Jake, are you seeing this?" she whispered. The object opened like a flower, revealing sensors and tools. It began taking soil samples and recording everything around it. Lisa realized this was not human technology. The metal was too smooth, too perfect. The movements were too precise. Jake started his camera again. "What is that thing?" Before Lisa could answer, the alien probe dug deeper into the ground. Its drill hit the main tunnel of the fire ant colony. Suddenly, the quiet field exploded with activity. Thousands of red ants poured out of holes in the ground. Then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. They moved like a red flood across the grass, all heading toward the alien device. The probe's sensors detected the movement, but its programming told it that small insects were not a threat. The first ants reached the probe and climbed onto its surface. More followed. Soon the entire device was covered with angry fire ants. They bit the metal with their tiny jaws and sprayed acid from their bodies. The probe began to spark and smoke. Lisa watched in amazement. "They see it as an invader," she said. "They are defending their territory." The probe tried to lift off, but thousands of ants weighed it down. More ants kept coming from underground tunnels. They worked together without any single ant being in charge, just like when they built bridges. But now they were building an attack. "Jake, are you recording this?" Lisa asked. "Every second," Jake replied. "But Lisa, if that is what I think it is, we need to call someone. We need to call everyone." Above them, the hegemony fleet moved closer to Earth. Veltash looked at reports from his scout probes. Most were working perfectly, sending back detailed information about human cities and military bases. But several probes had gone silent in rural areas. Their last signals showed only minor local wildlife interference. Veltash was not worried. Sometimes small animals damaged equipment. It had happened on other worlds. His troops were trained and equipped to handle much worse than Earth's simple creatures. He had no idea that 400 million tiny warriors had just declared war on his invasion fleet. 3 days after the first probe landed, the sky above Earth filled with alien ships. They came down like falling stars, but these stars carried weapons and soldiers. The largest ships headed for major cities like New York, London, and Tokyo, but some ships had different plans. Commander Veltash watched from his command vessel as 200,000 hegemony troops descended toward Earth. Each soldier wore a special suit designed to protect them from Earth's dangerous animals. The suits could stop lion claws and shark teeth. They could resist poison from snakes and spiders. The hegemony had learned from other worlds that local predators could be troublesome. "Landing Zone Alpha secured," came a report from New York. "No major resistance from local predators." "Landing Zone Beta reporting successful deployment," said another voice from Europe. "Human military response minimal." Veltash felt pleased. Earth was falling just like the other 47 worlds his people had conquered. But then something went wrong. "Command, this is Dropship 77. A panicked voice crackled through the radio. "We are taking heavy fire from human aircraft. Engines damaged. We need emergency landing coordinates." "Dropship 77, you are cleared to land in Sector 12, replied the navigation officer. Rural area, minimal human presence. The damaged ship limped through the sky with smoke, trailing behind it. Inside, Squad Leader Cratham checked his equipment and prepared his 12 soldiers for an unplanned landing. Their ship was supposed to reach the city of Houston, but now they would have to land in empty grassland and walk. Remember, Cratham told his troops, Earth predators are weak compared to Zerathian battle beasts. Stay alert but do not waste ammunition on local wildlife. The ship crashed hard into the Texas field where Lisa Martinez had been studying ants just 3 days before. The impact threw dirt and grass in all directions. The metal hull cracked open like an egg, and hegemony soldiers stumbled out into the bright sunlight. Cratham looked around at the empty landscape. Tall grass waved in the wind. Small hills of dirt dotted the field. No humans in sight. No dangerous animals either. Just a peaceful place to regroup before marching to their target. Environmental suits are working, reported his scanner operator. Air is breathable, but we maintain sealed systems as ordered. Local life signs show only small creatures, nothing threatening. The soldiers began unloading their equipment. Heavy, weapons, communication devices, and supplies for a long march. Their environmental suits were the best hegemony technology could provide. Sealed against toxins, reinforced against claws and teeth, powered by energy cells that could last for weeks. None of them noticed the tiny vibrations in the ground beneath their feet. 20 miles away, Lisa Martinez sat in an emergency meeting with military officials at a secure facility near Austin. General Kate Williams had ordered all scientists who studied dangerous animals to report for briefing. The government wanted to know everything about Earth's predators that might help fight the aliens. Dr. Martinez, said Colonel Ben Martinez, Lisa's brother who worked in military intelligence, your expertise with fire ants might be important. We have reports of alien equipment malfunctioning in areas with high insect activity. Lisa remembered the probe that had crashed 3 days earlier. She and Jake had reported it to authorities, but everyone was too busy preparing for invasion to pay much attention to bug problems. Fire ants are territorial, Lisa explained to the room full of officers. They attack anything that threatens their colony, but I do not see how that helps against aliens with advanced technology. Any weakness is worth knowing about, said General Williams. Continue your research, but stay in contact. If these creatures can damage alien equipment, we need to understand how. Back in the Texas field, Cratham's soldiers were almost finished unloading their ship when the first ants appeared. They came up from holes in the ground, just a few at first. The alien scanners detected them but classified them as harmless microfauna. Squad leader, said the scanner operator. Local insects are gathering near our position. Readings show, standard Earth arthropod biology, no threat indicators. Cratham barely glanced at the small red dots moving in the grass. His homeworld had insects too, but they were tiny and weak. Earth insects would be the same. He focused on checking his weapons and planning the march to Houston. The fire ants had different plans. The crash had damaged their main colony tunnels. The alien ship sat directly on top of their nursery chambers where young ants grew and developed. Millions of ants felt the vibrations through the ground. Chemical alarm signals spread through the colony network faster than any human communication system. Within minutes, ants began pouring out of the ground. Not hundreds or thousands, but millions. They came from tunnels that stretched for miles, underground. They came from connected colonies that shared information through chemical trails. Every ant in the super colony received the same message. Invaders must be destroyed. The first alien soldier to notice the gathering swarm was checking equipment near the back of the ship. He looked down and saw red ants covering his boots. More ants climbed up his legs. Even more ants streamed across the ground toward him. Squad leader, he called out. We have an insect situation here. Cratham turned and saw thousands of ants swarming around his soldiers' feet. The man tried to brush them away, but more ants kept coming. Use repellent spray, Cratham ordered. Standard procedure for pest control. The soldier activated a chemical dispenser on his suit. It released a mist designed to drive away harmful insects. On other worlds, this spray worked perfectly. But fire ants were not like other insects. Instead of running away, the ants became more aggressive. The chemical spray was supposed to frighten them, but it only made them angrier. More ants climbed onto the soldier's suit. They found gaps between the armor plates and squeezed inside. "Something is wrong," the soldier said, his voice getting higher. "They are inside my suit. They are biting me. The pain is incredible." Cratham ran toward his struggling soldier but stopped when he saw the ground around the crashed ship. Red ants covered everything like a moving carpet. They flowed around rocks and equipment like water, but water that had millions of tiny legs and stinging weapons. "Form defensive circle," Cratham ordered his troops. "Activate sonic dispersal systems." The hegemony soldiers turned on sound weapons, designed to scare away dangerous animals. High-pitched noises that hurt the ears of most creatures. On other worlds, this technology sent even large predators running in fear. But fire ants do not have ears like mammals. The sound did not hurt them or frighten them. They kept coming, following chemical trails that led them to the alien invaders. Nothing would stop them from defending their home. The soldier who was first attacked fell to his knees. Hundreds of fire ants had found ways into his environmental suit through joints and openings. Each ant injected its venom into his skin. Fire ant venom was designed to cause pain and paralysis. One sting hurt badly. Hundreds of stings were agony beyond imagination. "Help me," the soldier screamed through his radio. "I cannot move my legs. The pain is too much." Cratham tried to reach his fallen soldier, but ants swarmed over his own feet and legs. His environmental suit was stronger and better sealed, but the ants found weak points. They worked together, some ants holding open small gaps while others crawled inside. "Retreat to the ship," Cratham ordered. But when he looked back, he saw ants covering the crashed vessel like a second metal skin. They flowed through openings into air vents across control panels. Equipment began sparking and smoking as ant bodies caused short circuits. "Squad leader," called his communication officer. "Radio equipment is failing. Something is interfering with our signals." The ants had found the communication array. Hundreds of them bit through wire insulation and crawled into circuit boards. Their bodies contained acids that corroded metal. Electrical systems began shutting down one by one. In the secure facility near Austin, Lisa Martinez watched satellite footage of the crashed alien ship on a large screen. Military cameras showed the entire vessel covered with what looked like a moving red blanket. "Those are fire ants," she said in amazement. "Millions of them. They are treating the alien ship like an invasion of their territory." "Are the ants winning?" asked General Williams. Lisa watched as more aliens fell to the ground overwhelmed by stinging insects. She had never seen fire ants this aggressive, but she understood what was happening. The colony saw the aliens as the greatest threat they had ever faced. Every ant was fighting with the fury of a creature defending its family. "General," Lisa said quietly, "I think we just found Earth's secret weapon." General Kate Williams stood in the war room deep underground in Colorado Springs. Giant screens showed red dots all over the world where alien ships had landed. Most dots showed fierce fighting between human soldiers and alien invaders. But 3 dots in Texas, Florida, and Louisiana showed something different. Those alien forces had gone completely silent. "Ma'am," said Lieutenant Tom Brady, pointing at his computer screen, "we have drone footage from the Texas crash site. You need to see this." The main screen filled with images from a military drone flying high above the Texas grassland. What General Williams saw made her question her own eyes. The alien ship looked like it was covered with a thick red blanket that moved and shifted, but the blanket was made of millions of fire ants. "Are those insects destroying an alien spacecraft?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," replied Lieutenant Brady. "Similar reports from Florida and Louisiana. Wherever aliens landed near fire ant colonies, their forces have been overrun by insect swarms." General Williams had commanded troops for 20 years. She had seen every kind of weapon and every type of battle, but she had never seen insects defeat advanced alien technology. "Get me Dr. Martinez immediately." 30 minutes later, Lisa Martinez rushed into the war room with her research partner Jake Thompson. They had been studying fire ant behavior when the emergency call came. Lisa looked at the drone footage and felt amazed at what the ants had accomplished. "Dr. Martinez," said General Williams, I need to understand what we are seeing. How are fire ants defeating alien soldiers with advanced weapons and armor? Lisa studied the images carefully. She could see patterns in how the ants moved and attacked. Fire ants use chemical warfare, she explained. Their venom contains formic acid and alkaloid compounds. These chemicals can corrode metals and disrupt electrical systems. She pointed to parts of the alien ship where the metal looked damaged. See these dark areas? That is corrosion from antacid. The ants are not just biting the aliens. They are dissolving their equipment. Jake added his own observations. We have been tracking ant behavior for 3 days since the first probe landed. The colonies are acting differently than normal. They seem to recognize the aliens as a specific threat. Colonel Ben Martinez entered the room carrying a metal briefcase. Inside were pieces of alien equipment that had been recovered from the Texas site. The metal pieces looked like they had been eaten by acid. Circuit boards were completely destroyed. Our scientists tested these fragments, Colonel Martinez reported. The alien technology uses biometal alloys that are extremely strong but highly vulnerable to the specific acids that fire ants produce. It is like the ants were designed to fight this exact type of equipment. General Williams felt hope for the first time since the invasion began. Are you telling me that fire ants can stop the alien invasion? Not stop, Lisa said carefully, but they can definitely hurt the aliens badly. The problem is that fire ants only live in certain areas. Most alien landing sites are in cities where there are no major ant colonies. Meanwhile, high above Earth, in the Hegemony command ship, Zixathara worked frantically in her research lab. Reports were coming in from ground forces about massive casualties from local micropredators. At first, she thought the reports were mistakes. How could tiny Earth insects harm trained Hegemony soldiers? But the evidence was undeniable. 3 entire landing parties had been destroyed by creatures that weighed less than 1 gram each. The survivors who escaped described swarms of red insects that attacked with coordination and intelligence that seemed impossible. Zixathara pulled up her original research on Earth life forms. She had focused on large predators because that was standard procedure. Lions, sharks, bears, these were the threats that usually mattered. She had noted insects in her database, but marked them as negligible threat level. Now she studied fire ants specifically. What she found horrified her. These insects lived in colonies of millions. They communicated through complex chemical signals. They could adapt their tactics in real time. Most frighteningly, they showed collective intelligence that allowed them to solve problems better than many individual alien species. Commander Veltash, she called through the communication system. I need to speak with you immediately about the Earth micropredators. Veltash arrived at her lab in a bad mood. His invasion was supposed to be quick and easy, but human resistance was stronger than expected. Now his troops were being killed by insects, which was embarrassing and made no sense. Explain how bugs are destroying my soldiers, he demanded. Zixathara showed him detailed scans of fire ant biology. These creatures are not simple insects. They operate as a superorganism with distributed intelligence. Each colony contains hundreds of millions of individuals working together like cells in a body. She highlighted the chemical composition of fire ant venom. Their natural weapons are perfectly designed to destroy our biometal technology. They inject acids that corrode our armor and disrupt our electronics. It is almost like they evolved, specifically to fight us. Veltash studied the data with growing alarm. How many of these colonies exist on Earth? Millions, Zixathara replied. They spread across warm regions of every continent. Total population estimates suggest over 1 quadrillion individual fire ants on this planet. The commander felt cold fear for the first time in his military career. 1 quadrillion enemies, each willing to die to protect their territory. Each armed with weapons that could destroy hegemony equipment. Each part of a collective intelligence that learned from every battle. Back on Earth, Dr. Alex Chen arrived at the Austin Research Facility to join Lisa's team. Alex specialized in animal behavior and had studied how different species communicated during stress. What Alex found in the fire ant data amazed everyone. Look at these chemical trail patterns, Alex said, pointing to computer models of ant movement. The colonies are not just defending their individual territories anymore. They are sharing information across vast distances. Lisa leaned over Alex's shoulder to see the data better. What kind of information? Everything, Alex replied. Which aliens are most dangerous, which equipment to target first, which attack methods work best. The ant colonies are teaching each other how to fight aliens. Jake looked up from his own computer. That explains why the aliens in Louisiana were defeated faster than the ones in Texas. The Louisiana ants learned from the Texas ants' experience. The implications hit Lisa like a lightning bolt. They are not just defending individual colonies anymore. All the fire ants on Earth are treating this invasion as one big threat to one big family. General Williams received this news with amazement and hope. Are you telling me that fire ants are sharing battle tactics across thousands of miles? Yes, ma'am, Lisa confirmed. They have essentially created a continental defense network. Every colony that fights aliens makes all other colonies more effective. The general turned to Colonel Martinez. What do our intelligence reports say about alien responses to the ant attacks? They are trying different approaches, he replied. Sonic weapons, chemical dispersal, increased armor protection. But the ants keep adapting faster than the aliens can respond. Dr. Chen pulled up more data on ant evolution. Fire ants have survived on Earth for over 100 million years. They have faced every possible threat except aliens. Now they are applying millions of years of survival experience to a completely new enemy. And they are winning, added Jake quietly. In the Hegemony command ship, Veltash made a difficult decision. He ordered his troops to avoid all areas with high insect activity. Landing parties were redirected to cities and cold regions where fire ants could not survive. The invasion plan was falling apart, but he had to protect his soldiers. Commander, reported his communications officer, we are receiving messages from the home fleet. They want status updates on the conquest timeline. Veltash did not want to explain that his invasion was being stopped by creatures smaller than his fingernail. The Hegemony had never been defeated by insects before. His reputation and career were at stake. Tell them we are encountering unexpected local resistance, he replied. Request additional research support for biological threats. But Veltash knew the truth. His army was fighting a war against an enemy that outnumbered them 1,000,000,000 to 1. An enemy that learned from every mistake and shared knowledge faster than any computer network. An enemy that had no fear and would never surrender. For the first time in Hegemony history, they were losing a war to bugs. Colonel Ben Martinez walked into the war room carrying a folder marked Top Secret. Inside were plans that sounded crazy, but might save Earth. He called it Operation Firestorm, and it would turn fire ants into guided weapons against the alien invaders. General Williams, he said, Dr. Martinez and her team have discovered something incredible. We can direct fire ant attacks using artificial pheromones. General Williams looked up from battle reports that showed mixed results across the globe. Human forces were holding their own in cities, but aliens controlled large areas where no fire ants lived. Explain how this works. Lisa Martinez stepped forward with a small spray bottle. Fire ants follow chemical trails to find food, identify enemies, and coordinate attacks. We have learned to make synthetic versions of these chemicals. When we spray this mixture near alien positions, every fire ant colony within 50 miles responds. She demonstrated by showing video footage from a test site. Researchers had sprayed the artificial pheromone near an abandoned alien probe. Within 2 hours, millions of ants arrived from colonies that were normally 20 miles away. They completely destroyed the probe and then returned to their homes. The ants think aliens are an existential threat to their entire species, explained Dr. Alex Chen. When we mark alien positions with the right chemicals, the ants treat it like a colony-wide emergency. Jake Thompson added his own findings. We have also discovered that fire ants are evolving rapidly during this war. They are developing new attack patterns and sharing genetic information between colonies at an unprecedented rate. General Williams studied the proposal carefully. Using insects as weapons seemed impossible, but the evidence was undeniable. Fire ants had already destroyed 3 alien landing parties without any human assistance. With human guidance, they could do much more. "What do you need to make this work?" she asked. "Production facilities for synthetic pheromones," replied Colonel Martinez. "Special forces teams trained to deploy the chemicals safely, and coordination with existing fire ant colonies to maximize effectiveness." Within 48 hours, Operation Firestorm was approved and implemented. Chemical factories across the southern United States began producing artificial ant pheromones. Special Forces soldiers received crash courses in fire ant biology and behavior. The strangest military training in human history was about to begin. Captain Amy Foster led the first operational ant guidance team into battle near Houston. Her squad carried backpacks filled with pheromone dispensers and protective gear designed to keep fire ants from attacking them instead of aliens. They felt nervous about working with creatures that could kill through sheer numbers. "Remember," Amy told her team, "we are not controlling the ants. We are just giving them targets. Once we mark an alien position, stay back and let the ants do their work." The aliens had learned from their early defeats and adapted their tactics. Veltash deployed his elite shock troops in completely sealed exosuits that looked like walking tanks. These suits were designed to resist acid, prevent insect entry, and provide heavy firepower. Each soldier was essentially a one-person fortress. "No Earth creature can penetrate Mark 7 battle armor," Veltash announced to his troops. "These new suits will end the insect problem permanently." The first test came when Amy's team encountered an alien patrol moving through the suburbs of Houston. 12 enemy soldiers in massive exosuits were advancing toward a civilian shelter. Their new armor made them look invincible, but Amy had her orders. "Deploy pheromone markers around the alien position," she whispered into her radio. "Pattern delta formation." Her soldiers used special launchers to fire small canisters filled with artificial pheromones. The canisters broke open and released chemicals that smelled like extreme danger to every fire ant within miles. To the aliens, the air smelled slightly sweet and harmless. 20 minutes later, the ground around the alien patrol began to move. Fire ants emerged from storm drains, building foundations, and underground tunnels that nobody knew existed. They came in numbers that defied imagination. "Contact rear," reported one of the alien soldiers. "Multiple small hostiles approaching from all directions." The squad leader looked at his scanner. "Confirmed microfauna presence. Activate pest control systems." But when the ants reached the new exosuits, something unexpected happened. Instead of trying to bite through the heavy armor, the ants began working together in ways nobody had seen before. They formed living chains that connected the suits to nearby metal objects. Other ants secreted extra acid and focused it on joint connections and air filtration systems. "Something is wrong with my suit," called one alien soldier. "Internal systems are failing." The fire ants had learned from previous battles. They knew that direct attacks on the armor were ineffective. Instead, they targeted support systems, electronics, and mechanical joints. Millions of ants working together could create focused chemical attacks that were far more powerful than individual stings. Dr. Steve Parker, a military entomologist, watched the battle through drone cameras from a safe distance. What he saw changed everything scientists thought they knew about insect intelligence. "They are using tools," he said in amazement. "The ants are using pieces of metal and debris to direct their acid attacks more effectively." One group of ants had found a broken piece of alien equipment. They positioned it to focus their collective acid secretions like a lens focuses sunlight. The concentrated chemical stream ate through the exosuit's armor in minutes. "General Williams," Dr. Parker reported through his radio, "the fire ants are demonstrating problem-solving abilities that rival human intelligence. They are adapting to alien technology faster than our computer models predicted." The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, all 12 alien soldiers were dead or unconscious from massive venom exposure. Their advanced exosuits lay in pieces, dissolved by acids that evolution had perfected over millions of years. Amy Foster and her team approached the battle site carefully. The fire ants were already leaving, following chemical trails back to their home colonies. They had completed their mission and lost maybe a few thousand individuals out of millions. To them, it was a minor skirmish in defense of their territory. "Command, this is Foster," Amy reported. "Target eliminated. Ant guidance systems worked perfectly. No human casualties." Across the communication network, similar reports came in from other Special Forces teams. Fire ants guided by artificial pheromones were destroying alien positions throughout Texas, Louisiana, Florida, and other warm states. The insects were winning battles that human weapons could not. But the most shocking discovery came from Dr. Chen's long-range monitoring stations. Fire ant colonies thousands of miles away from any battles were changing their behavior. They were preparing for war, even though no aliens had landed near them. "The ant networks are bigger than we thought," Chen reported to General Williams. "Colonies in Mexico are responding to battles in Texas. Colonies in South America are sending chemical signals to North American colonies. This is a planet-wide ant communication system." Lisa Martinez studied the data with growing excitement and fear. The fire ants are treating the alien invasion as a threat to all ant life on Earth. Every colony is sharing information and preparing coordinated responses. "What does that mean for the war?" asked General Williams. "It means," Lisa replied slowly, "that we are not just fighting alongside fire ants in a few states. We are fighting alongside every fire ant on the planet. And there are more of them than there are humans." High above Earth, Commander Veltash received reports that filled him with dread. His elite troops were being destroyed by creatures that weighed almost nothing. His most advanced technology was useless against enemies that attacked in numbers beyond counting. "Zixathera," he called to his science officer, "how many of these fire ants exist on Earth?" "Current estimates suggest over 1 quadrillion individuals," she replied. "But Commander, there is something else. Our deep scanners show that ant colonies are expanding into new territories at an accelerated rate. They are spreading to areas where they could not survive before." Veltash felt cold fear settle in his stomach. "Are you saying the insects are evolving during this war?" "Yes," Zixathera confirmed. "They are adapting not just their tactics but their biology. Some colonies are developing resistance to our sonic weapons, others are becoming more aggressive and coordinated. The war is making them stronger." For the first time in his career, Commander Veltash considered the possibility that the hegemony might lose a war. Not to advanced human technology or superior firepower, but to insects that refused to be conquered. On Earth, fire ants continued their ancient work of defending their territory. But now their territory was an entire planet, and their enemy came from the stars. Commander Veltash stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Red zones covered half the planet where his forces could no longer operate safely. Every attempt to establish permanent bases had failed when fire ants found ways to infiltrate and destroy critical systems. His invasion fleet was trapped between human resistance above and insect armies below. "Commander," reported his tactical officer, "we have lost contact with Landing Base 7. Last transmission showed massive insect infiltration of the main compound." Veltash had built that base with the strongest materials the hegemony possessed. Walls thick enough to stop tank shells. Air filtration systems designed to keep out chemical weapons. But fire ants were not stopped by walls or filters. They found cracks smaller than paper thickness and turned them into highways for invasion. The final disaster began when fire ants discovered something that terrified even Veltash. They had learned to climb. Dr. Lisa Martinez watched in amazement as millions of fire ants formed living towers that reached toward alien aircraft, hovering 50 feet above the ground. The ants linked their bodies together into chains and bridges, creating structures that defied gravity through sheer determination and teamwork. "Jake, are you recording this?" she called to her partner. "Every second," Jake replied, his camera focused on the incredible sight. "Lisa, they are building ant ladders that reach the alien ships." The first fire ants to reach the aircraft clung to landing gear and weapon mounts. They released chemical signals that guided millions more ants to follow the same paths. Within an hour, entire alien ships were covered with red carpets of insects that bit through cables, clogged air intakes, and corroded electronic systems. "Captain, Amy Foster watched through binoculars as a massive alien transport ship struggled to stay airborne. Fire ants covered every surface, their combined weight adding tons to the aircraft's load. More critically, they were systematically destroying the ship's control systems. "Command, this is Foster," she reported. "The ants have learned to attack aircraft. Repeat, fire ants are bringing down alien ships." The transport ship's engines began failing as ants clogged intake valves and corroded fuel lines. The pilot tried emergency maneuvers, but millions of insects created drag that made the ship impossible to control. It crashed into a Texas field, adding another victory to the fire ants' growing record. High above the battle, Veltash made a desperate decision. If ground forces could not establish control, he would threaten the entire planet from orbit. The hegemony had never resorted to planetary bombardment before, but Earth's insects had driven him to extremes. "Communications officer," he ordered, "send a message to all human military frequencies. Tell them they have 1 hour to surrender, or we will destroy their major cities from space." General Kate Williams received the alien ultimatum in her underground command center. She looked around at her staff and felt the weight of 7 billion human lives. The fire ants had won many battles, but they could not stop weapons fired from space. "Dr. Martinez," she said, "is there any way fire ants can reach ships in orbit?" Lisa shook her head sadly. "No, General. Fire ants are incredible, but they cannot fly through space." But Dr. Alex Chen was studying something strange on the long-range scanners. "General, we are detecting unusual activity near the main alien command ship. Something is interfering with their systems." Meanwhile, aboard Veltash's command vessel, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Emergency lights flashed red as critical systems started failing one by one. The commander rushed to the bridge to find his crew working frantically to identify the problem. "Report," he demanded. "Unknown system failures throughout the ship," replied his technical officer. "Life support is compromised. Navigation is offline. Weapon systems are not responding." Veltash looked at his screens in horror. "How is this possible? We are in space. No Earth creatures can reach us here." But Zixathera was discovering the terrifying truth in her research lab. "Commander, you need to see this immediately." She led him to a sealed sample container that had been brought from Earth 3 days earlier. Inside were soil samples that contained fire ant eggs and larvae. The container was supposed to be secure, but she found tiny holes corroded through the metal walls. "The Earth insects were inside our ship the entire time," she said with fear in her voice. "They came with the soil samples and have been spreading through our ventilation systems." Veltash felt panic as he realized what this meant. Fire ants had infiltrated his command ship and were systematically destroying it from within. The insects that had defeated his ground forces were now attacking his most advanced vessel. "Security teams to all levels," he ordered. "Find and eliminate all Earth insects immediately," but it was already too late. Fire ants had been exploring the ship for days, following air currents and chemical trails through corridors and maintenance shafts. They had found the main computer core, the life support center, and the weapons control room. Millions of ants were working together to disable the most powerful ship in the hegemony fleet. Dr. Steve Parker, monitoring the situation from Earth, made a discovery that changed everything. "General Williams, the fire ants in space are behaving differently than Earth colonies. They are adapting to zero gravity and artificial atmosphere in real time." "What does that mean?" asked the general. "It means," Parker replied in amazement, "that fire ants can survive and evolve in space environments. They are becoming space-capable insects during this single mission." Aboard the alien command ship, Veltash watched his crew abandon their posts as fire ants swarmed through the bridge. The insects moved in perfect coordination, targeting specific control panels and communication systems. They seemed to understand which equipment was most important to disable. "All ships," he broadcast to his remaining fleet, "retreat immediately. Do not attempt rescue operations. Earth is classified as Class X prohibited zone." "Commander," asked his pilot, "what about the ground forces?" Veltash looked at his tactical display. which showed red zones spreading across every continent. His invasion army was trapped on a planet where the very ground was alive with enemies. They are lost. Save what ships we can. The hegemony fleet began its retreat, leaving behind thousands of soldiers and billions of credits worth of equipment. Ships that could still function limped away from Earth's gravity well, carrying warnings about the planet's aggressive biological defense systems. Lisa Martinez stood in the Texas field where the first alien probe had crashed. Fire ants moved peacefully through the grass, apparently returning to normal behavior now that the threat was gone. But she noticed changes in their colonies that would take years to fully understand. They are different now, she told Jake as they packed their research equipment. The war changed them, made them smarter, more coordinated, more aware of threats. From space, Jake nodded as he reviewed footage from the past weeks. Do you think they will remember what happened here? Fire ants have excellent memory, Lisa replied, and they share information across generations through chemical signals. Every ant colony on Earth now knows that threats can come from the sky. 6 months later, Dr. Lisa Martinez published a research paper that became the most important scientific document in human history. Her findings showed that fire ants had developed permanent genetic changes during the alien war. They were now capable of detecting electromagnetic signatures from spacecraft, coordinating attacks across continental distances, and adapting to environments that had previously been impossible for them to survive. Most importantly, fire ant colonies around the world maintained constant vigilance against future threats from space. Earth's smallest defenders had become its most effective early warning system. General Williams received reports from intelligence agencies around the globe. Radio telescopes detected alien transmissions warning other species to avoid Earth. The planet was marked in galactic databases as unsurvivable due to aggressive microecosystem and protected by uncontainable biological weapons. Humanity had won its first interstellar war not through superior technology or military might, but through an alliance with creatures that weighed less than a paperclip. Fire ants had proven that size did not matter when defending home and family. In secure government facilities, scientists worked to understand the full implications of what had happened. Earth's fire ants had evolved from simple territorial insects into a planetary defense network capable of defeating advanced alien technology. They were no longer just Earth's worst predators. They were Earth's guardians, and in underground colonies across the world, hundreds of billions of fire ants continued their ancient work of protecting their territory. But now their territory included the entire planet, and they would never forget the day invaders came from the stars.